It is inevitable that, in a matter of years, not decades, another diet will overshadow the carnivore diet in popularity. Dr. Baker's book will collect dust next to the Atkins diet, the paleo diet, and other instruction manuals on how to be skinny and cure diseases by eating certain foods.
Where did the carnivore diet come from, and is it really ridiculous? Hi, I'm Dr. Eric Westman, and welcome to my channel where I review and debunk nutritional information online. In this video, The Rise of the Carnivore Diet, we're going to see a critique of the carnivore diet, and I think it's important to go through this because you're going to see the mindset or attitude or even brainwashing of people to think a certain way, and it's important to realize that that's going on. Be sure to listen to the end of the videos where you get my final thoughts. Before we dive into today's video, I want to personally invite you to join my free diabetes lab workshop. In this essential workshop, I'll walk you through how to understand your lab results so you can take control of your health and reverse type 2 diabetes and prediabetes for good. See the link in the description to sign up.
If I said eat packing peanuts and drink battery acid and you'll be thin and healthy, the internet would tell me, shut up, fatty, what do you know about health? What's funny is if I became a skinny legend and gave the same advice, only this time saying I lost 50 pounds on that insane diet, a few people would start ordering packing peanuts by the truckload and making Duracell smoothies in their NutriBullet blender. I am being hyperbolic, but only slightly, as some of these internet fad diets are insane, with the latest being the carnivore diet. When I think of the word carnivore, I think of large wildcats, birds of prey, and the occasional dinosaur, but I have never envisioned people as carnivorous by nature. However, the idea that humans are carnivorous is a vital part of the rationale for the carnivore diet. It was popularized by a book written by Dr. Shawn Baker in 2018, which I had the pleasure of spending $10 on. He's an orthopedic surgeon who dabbles in nutritional anthropology. Dr. Baker claims that our ancestors evolved to eat meat because it was the most convenient food source back when, quote, cavemen roamed the earth hunting mastodons. His argument is, in summation, that large animals, including mastodons, easily provided all the calories early humans needed and was a better food source than berries, tubers, or leaves. You know, the 3 plants in existence in whatever year BCE. I'm leaving out a lot of spurious correlations that he peppers in there to bolster his argument, but in general, it makes zero sense.
Well, I don't know. Yes, it does make sense. I don't see any counter-argument here, and the paleo primal hunter-gatherer lifestyle, which is being thought of in a sarcastic, hyperbolic way. I'm glad he used the term hyperbole. The idea is that humans evolved eating meat. Now it's caveman and mastodon and the ad hominem that Dr. Shawn Baker, who's an orthopedic surgeon, wrote the book. There are a lot of experts who come to nutrition because the nutrition experts aren't saying everything or studying everything. So there are a lot of non-nutrition experts who become nutrition experts and write books, and that doesn't invalidate what the book is. So that's called an ad hominem there. And then saying that this idea of evolution didn't happen without a rebuttal is a little hollow.
As Dr. Baker says himself, we do not have a time machine to know precisely what our ancestors ate, but we can do a little bit of a better job figuring it out. Baker has to artificially limit the diet options of the caveman he envisions for his speculation to be plausible, attributing the genesis of the entire human diet to a specific era and area of the world where humans hunted large mammals for food. When you consider the tens of thousands of years of human history and entire continents with varied ecosystems which he leaves out of his argument, things fall apart entirely. It's self-evident that hunting a mastodon for calories is better than eating leaves, berries, and tubers. But what about legumes and nuts? These are the primary sources of calories for many modern hunter-gatherer societies, where such plants are abundant and easier to access than big game. Last I checked, a mongongo tree puts up less of a fight than a literal mastodon. Yet despite that fact, Baker claims plucking a few nuts in arm's reach from a tree takes more effort than hunting big game by an order of magnitude. The lack of concrete evidence that humans are most adapted to eating meat as our primary food source makes Baker's dietary suggestions seem less like a return to ancestral ways of eating and more like a modern fad diet.
Yeah, that's too bad. He clearly has not been reading widely and learning that actually in most parts of the world, humans evolved because they could have the fat in the animals and because of eating meat or fish, depending on where you were. And it was only relatively recently that these other items were being consumed. True, we can't know for sure. So that's where I even think this what we used to eat argument is very weak, and I don't dwell on that much. Why don't we look at the health of different ways of eating? Could a human be more healthy eating herbs, herbivore or carnivore or omnivore? And let's go forward and learn rather than looking back and arguing over what no one really knows.
It is inevitable that, in a matter of years, not decades, another diet will overshadow the carnivore diet in popularity. Dr. Baker's book will collect dust next to the Atkins diet, the paleo diet, and other instruction manuals on how to be skinny and cure diseases by eating certain foods.
Uh-oh, now he's hitting close to the chest here. Atkins was right. The Atkins book and the Atkins method is something that we've studied for over 20 years. And in a recent textbook published last year, basically the ketogenic and low-carb therapeutic carbohydrate restriction is the term we used in that textbook, actually validated the Atkins diet. So I'm afraid, you don't have a crystal ball and you don't know that these fads come and go. In fact, the low-fat diet is fading away. I predict the vegan diet will come and go because it's just not healthy and it's hard to do. But I don't have a crystal ball either.
Credibility is established by saying either, I'm a doctor or dietary professional, or, more commonly, I lost a great deal of weight on this diet. In this case, Laura establishes that she lost 120 pounds on the carnivore diet, so you should watch the rest of her video. Logically, pointing to your credentials is more important than recanting your personal experience with a particular diet. Research will always carry more weight compared to anecdotal personal account. However, stating that you had lost 100 pounds on a given diet can be a more compelling story. Often, that's a viewer's only goal. They don't care about research showing that the diet in question can have detrimental health consequences. They want to shed pounds fast.
Well, so I share the confusion. 25 years ago, when I was looking for data on the Atkins diet, Dr. Atkins had published his first book in 1970, and I started looking at it in 1998. That's when I learned about it. I went to visit Dr. Atkins, and the practice was a bustling practice where things were getting better. You could see that in the practice, which is a very similar approach to the carnivore diet. These are very similar in terms of their carbohydrate content. And they're very similar in the skeptical view of those who don't know anything about the diet. And so when I looked at the internet, actually right around 2000, the year 2000, there were before and after pictures that people had of using the Atkins diet to reverse obesity. That's what I was studying first. And so actually internet influencers sharing their story have subscribers and followers and comments from people who are actually following it themselves. And so it's not just an individual being watched for entertainment. They're actually teaching how they're doing it. And there ought to be an office of anecdotal internet medical information. I've learned so much from people sharing their information, and you could do it in an anonymous way and yet validate the information. We've done surveys of Facebook groups and published papers based on that. You can learn so much from the grassroots that isn't being done. So now here's the problem with just looking to research first. The people in charge of the research centers and the research protocols and what to study don't know anything about these diets. and like this gentleman, assume that they're bad and that there are detrimental effects. When I look back on the Atkins diet, and there was never a study that showed it was bad. Our studies were the first ones to show that it was good, and yet 20 years later, after our first study, people still say it doesn't work, it's a fad. No, these aren't fad diets. They're low-carb diets. Those people who use them have health benefits, and the reason they're not going away is that they work. They have different names. I've watched the Atkins go to LCHF for several years, and then now keto, and carnivore is a subgroup of the low-carb world, and people are doing it because it improves their health. It's sad that the research isn't being done at the top and then the information coming down, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't work and it's safe.
Despite the video's framing that this carnivore diet is focused on weight loss or maintaining a certain weight, some aspects of her diet have been shown to have little impact on weight gain or loss. For example, she drinks only water for breakfast, for no reason other than trying to incorporate another fad diet called intermittent fasting. Modern research has given us a clearer picture of whether skipping breakfast results in weight gain or loss, and the answer is it doesn't matter.
So, confusion here, comparing apples to oranges. In the context of carb eating, if you look at those who eat breakfast and those who don't, it matters. And breakfast seems to be good. But for those who don't eat carbohydrate, and if you're not hungry, you don't eat, and you call it intermittent fasting, which is fine for me, although I want you to do it in a low carb context, then you don't have to have breakfast. In fact, in a world where I'm trying to get people to burn their own body fat, so if you come to me for obesity reversal, type 2 diabetes reversal, I don't want you to have more food in the morning if you're not hungry. And of course, be careful if you're on medicines, because often the medicine is treating the food, and when you cut the food down, you have to cut the medicine down as well. So I'm afraid we're having that apples and oranges, taking research from carb eaters and inappropriately overgeneralizing to those who don't eat carbohydrates.
It's clear to me that many influencers are eating to follow their diets, not to be sated or even lose weight. They've prescribed themselves strict dietary regimens they think will work for them and stick to them no matter what. I assume some of these influencers have to be hungry if they go through 6 hours of activity without eating, and in that case, they're making themselves uncomfortable for nothing, or even worse, making themselves uncomfortable for the sake of telling their YouTube viewers that they did the smart thing of incorporating intermittent fasting into their day.
So I don't know. If you've never tried a low carb or keto diet, you won't know that there's no hunger there because you've never been there. But to say that they're lying about it, this is now getting into libelous sort of talk, because they are not hungry. They're not lying about it. And actually, I've met people who have eaten carbohydrate every day of their lives. They've been hungry every moment of their day. And then the first day they cut the carbs out, the hunger's gone. The hunger's gone. Let me know your results down below about if you're someone who had hunger all the time, you always thought about food, you did low carb, keto, carnivore, and the hunger went away. That's the universal feeling or a symptom, that the absence of hunger is almost universal. And I'm afraid this fellow just doesn't know. It's kind of sad.
Every influencer's content is different in the way they sell their diet and access to their exclusive communities at Lord knows what cost. But what's striking to me about carnivore diet content is the simplicity of the diet. It's self-explanatory. To follow it, you must eat only meat and a handful of other food. Laura Spath's video is almost comical as she reaches around in her giant freezer filled with massive quantities of frosty animal flesh to pull out a pack of bacon meatballs, which made up the entirety of her dinner. Like, no spaghetti or sauce?
I don't know what to say about that. It's sad if we have a new generation of adults who think they have to have tots. That's just sad. Although I like the Napoleon Dynamite movie, watch it with my kids, you don't have to have tots and you don't have to have pasta. And actually, I thought that video that Laura did was fine. There are communities of followers and they do charge small amounts of money why not? It costs money to put on these videos and to have a community, and it's not like they're getting rich on this, I don't think. So that is, again, kind of a criticism that really isn't targeted at whether a carnivore diet is healthy or not, or works.
The public Facebook group Carnivore Diet for Beginners has a total membership of over 100,000 people. There's a private Facebook group of the same name that has even more members. When I start seeing communities of people online congregating together who all share beliefs that may be harmful to people's health and are not rooted in science, I get really concerned.
So, really? Actually, it is scientific, and people do congregate in groups on the internet, and we shouldn't tell them not to, especially if they're feeling better. Even though, wait, have we seen any problem that he's presented about this carnivore diet? No, he hasn't shown any data there because there is no data about that being harmful. I just wanted to comment on a Substack that I follow. It's called Unsettled Science. It is written by Nina Teicholz and Gary Taubes, and I read that I subscribe and read their articles as they come out. And Nina did a rebuttal to the idea that carnivore is a male-dominated sort of thing. So actually, if you want more information on that, look for Nina Teicholz's Substack on the carnivore diet. It's not only for men.
Taking that as you will, the diet itself is insane. And I mean health-wise, not in the fact that people are waking up and eating a slab of meat coated in butter first thing in the morning. It doesn't take a doctor to tell you that it's going to raise your cholesterol through the roof, give you kidney stones, and potentially lead later on to osteoporosis and other long-term health consequences.
So that's false. So, what can you do except do videos to say that's not true? Actually, cholesterol goes down for most people, and we change from looking at the old way, which cholesterol are we talking about, the good one or the bad one? I now see people, if you want the old paradigm, good, bad, I see people with HDLs, the good one, over 100. In the study that's looking at high LDLs and coronary heart artery blockages, the average HDL was 90 in that group, which is twice as high as those who eat carbs. So actually, none of those things that he talked about are true. And yet, I guess you can say that on the internet, and well, you can also congregate in groups on the internet, and I hope you don't start trolling there. That would be, just kind of a waste of your time. Sorry.
The influencers who claim to be healthy on the carnivore diet are healthy despite their diet, not because of it. However, you may lose weight in the short term as your body responds to this change in the distribution of macronutrients in your diet. The funny part is, if you're going on a carnivore diet, you may not even lose weight. A video topic I see again and again is weight gain while on the carnivore diet, and it's no wonder why many people experience it. If you, gram for gram, replace the amount of food you eat by weight in a balanced diet with bacon and meatballs, you are consuming many more calories despite eating the same amount of food. Therefore, being on the carnivore diet involves restrictive eating, not just eating meat if you want to lose weight. You end up on a diet where you have to count your calories and eat a handful of greasy hunks of meat, and to be honest, it sounds miserable.
Yeah, so if you want to learn about a carnivore diet, talk to someone who knows about a carnivore diet, not to someone who doesn't. If you want to talk to someone who's on a vegan diet and learn about how to do a vegan diet, great. I'm not going to tell you not to. What's just phenomenal is there's some other agenda going on here, and usually it's that people don't want you to eat meat for ethical reasons and because of the factory farming, which no one is in favor of. But it's not a health issue. And now we're getting into really just kind of strange arguments that hunger actually does go down and you don't need to count calories. I can see why they're the same superficial rebuttals that I've seen over the last 20 years. And actually you'll still see them in family, friends, neighbors, even dietitians and doctors. That's why I think it's good to go through a video like this to see how to poke holes through this kind of veneer of thinking they know about it when they really don't. You know, the last inculcation or brainwashing is a real problem. I don't quite know how to address that. I think there needs to be re-education or new education for the schools, for families to know that they are able to eat meat and it is healthy. It's not bad for the environment. Sure, in that picture it might look gross at the moment. A lot of that's just culture, and there are many different ways to have the food. It doesn't have to look gross. But this kind of brainwashing is a problem. Let me know if you have some ideas or other resources for that, because it's hard to overcome a prejudice or discrimination with data, because it's kind of inculcated already. Well, I thought this was, a really bad video in some ways about data about how bad a carnivore diet is, because there is none. Do we need more research on carnivore diets? Absolutely. I'm all for that. So I can't prescribe a carnivore diet to say it as a policy that everyone should do it. There are a lot of people getting health benefits from it, and it's not as crazy as Robert thinks. I hope you like. If you like, subscribe, ring the notification bell, and look for new content on Wednesdays and Fridays. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell, and check out adaptyourlifeacademy.com.